Hey, what's up everybody, Shido here. It's that time again, the end of a season and the beginning of another. The winter 2015 anime season is coming to an end, and the spring season is about to begin, so it's time for me to list my top 5 shows of the winter season. As usual, my list won't include shows I didn't watch or sequels, so that means shows like Durara x2 and Aldnoah Zero's second season won't be on the list. What I will talk about, however, are 2 honorable mentions I have real quick. These 2 shows just missed being in the top 5. Unlimited Faenir is a show based off a light novel series. It is an action, fantasy, harem show. Monsters called dragons have suddenly appeared, causing the world to change. Eventually, human girls begin to develop supernatural abilities tied to the dragons. These girls are simply known as D. There is, however, one boy who has also developed these powers. The boy, Yu Mononobe, is enrolled in the all-girls school where everyone known as D are taught how to develop and control their powers. The anime is 12 episodes and is animated by Dio Media Studio, formerly known as Studio Barcelona. The animation and music are very nice, and the show came as sort of a surprise in this very overdone genre of naked girls throwing themselves at the main lead. There is still a little bit of that, but I've certainly seen worse. The story is pretty interesting, with these girls and you having these powers, and these creatures that are being called dragons. The dragons seem to call out to the girls as they develop their powers and overuse them. The show ends up having a lot more action than I originally expected as well. Our main character is interesting in his own right, being a former soldier tasked with preventing the D girls from becoming dragons, and the ties he makes with the girls. This show is how to make a harem show more than about naked girls going after the same guy. The action itself isn't anything special, but the animation makes it look great and much more meaningful. If you don't like harem shows, this one might be one worth giving a try. Yoru no Yattaman, otherwise known as Yattaman Night to North American audiences, this series is inspired by the 1970s anime series Yattaman. It's animated by Tatsunoko Production and runs 12 episodes. The anime has been licensed by Funimation. Long ago, Yattermen were heroes of justice who fought against the evil Doranbo gang, exiling them and bringing peace to the Yatter Kingdom. Generations later, however, the Yattermen have become corrupt, and the kingdom lives in poverty. However, a direct descendant of the Doranbo gang's leader rises up and reforms the gang to rebel against the corrupt Yattermen. This is yet another show that surprised me. The animation and music are great and helped kickstart the show. I felt the series started strong with the forming of the gang and how it all comes together, starting with the death of the main character's mother. The problem it runs into up until the climax of the show, however, is that it starts to feel very episodic and doesn't really seem to push towards the main plot. Obviously, for the climax it does improve, but that feeling was enough to drop it out of my top 5 for me. The show is more for people who like good stories and fun characters. It's not really a show for action lovers. And that's it for the honorable mentions. Now it's time for the actual list. Starting off at number 5 is Death Parade, spawned by the 2003 anime short Death Billiards. The series is a psychological thriller, animated by Studio Madhouse, and it runs 12 episodes and is licensed by Funimation. The animation and music for this show is fantastic and does a great job of telling the show's story. Basically, whenever 2 people on Earth die at the same time, they are sent to one of these strange and mysterious bars. They are then served by the bartenders who also serve as arbiters. The dead must then participate in death games where they must put their lives on the line. These games serve to reveal many of the secrets which led them to the circumstances behind their deaths, and ultimately the fate that awaits them. The arbiters then judge them to see if they are worthy of being reborn or sent to hell. The concept of the story in itself is interesting and intriguing enough to get my attention. The moral choices you're forced with lead you to debating whether a judgment was right or not. It's totally engaging. To add to that, we also follow the story of one particular arbiter named Deckham, who begins to change upon meeting a black-haired woman named Chiyuki. The show is very good with its story, and the art all the more helps tell it. It fell at number 5 for me solely because I enjoyed the other 4 shows more, and it did start to feel a little slow and drawn out sometimes. Something that gets corrected quickly, but it's just enough to push it down to number 5. It's a show that makes you think and feel and is very tense, but in a good way. I feel your standard action anime fan will be bored though, but drama and thriller fans will enjoy it. Number 4 is surprising to me for a few reasons, but the main one being that it's another fantasy action harem show that's done right and made enjoyable, and is able to push past the normal routine of girls getting naked and wanting our male lead. As with most of these shows, it's based off a light novel series. It's another 12-episode series, and it has also been licensed by Funimation. The show is animated by 8-Bit Studio, a still fairly newer studio that has only been around for about 6 years or so. Our main lead, Tor, or Thor, not sure how it's going to translate in English, honestly, is a high school boy who enrolls in Koryo Academy, a school where you battle others with weapons called Blaze. Blaze is basically a manifestation of your soul. Blazes are usually melee weapons. Tor, however, is also known as an irregular because he manages to manifest a shield. The school uses a duo system where you are partnered and fight together with another student. I really enjoyed this show. The standard comedy seems funnier in delivery, and the action has been well done, and is fast-paced. The anime is another rare occasion that a harem show can be done right and made enjoyable rather than a shameless softcore porn and a non-moving story. This is another case where people who don't generally like harems might like this one. It's also got enough action that will keep action lovers interested. My number 3 is just a fun, enjoyable, beautifully animated over-the-top show. That series is The Rolling Girls. It's a 12-episode series also licensed by Funimation. It's animated by Wit Studio, the same studio behind the massively successful Attack on Titans. 10 years after the Great Tokyo War, most of Japan's political and economic elites vanished. This caused the country to split into the original 10 prefectures that then became independent city-states that compete with each other. Many who fought in the war are hired and are then called bests. They then represent their prefectures in territorial disputes. Their supporters, called rest, work to support them while trying to maintain peace in their prefectures. After one prolonged battle leads to her friend being injured, a rookie rest named Nozomi decides to travel around Japan on her motorcycle with her friends. I describe this show as Kill la Kill minus the nudity. It's bright, it's colorful, it's insane, it's a whole lot of fun. The sheer enjoyment the show brought me easily pushed it to my number 3 spot. There really isn't much I can say about the show. It's hard to describe when you try to actually break it down. That's why I simplify things by saying it's Kill la Kill minus fan service. It's just a whole lot of fun, and I recommend it for most everybody, except maybe people who want a really deep story or drama or something. Seriously, just check it out. Either you like it or you don't, but it won't be a waste of time. At number 2 is Saikono, How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, a beautifully animated romance comedy harem show. Gee, look, another harem show. I must be losing my edge or something. Based off a light novel series, and animated by A1 Pictures. The series is 12 episodes and follows Tomoya Aki, a high school boy so deep in the otaku life, he might even have a picture in the dictionary. One day he encounters a beautiful girl while on spring vacation. The girl turns out to be a classmate named Megumi, who is practically unnoticeable. Tomoya, hoping to create his own visual novel computer game, turns to school beauty Eri to design the art, and Utaha to write the game scenario, forming the group called Blessing Software. Tomoya recruits Megumi to be the model for the game's heroine. The series basically follows the cast as they get together and go about the process of making the game, while successfully establishing the characters, telling their backstory, and making them all interesting without relying on standard harem tropes. Add the beautiful animation and well-timed music, and you have an interesting romance comedy with fun and interesting characters without having to cheapen itself by having tons of nudity and weird awkward situations or making our main character look completely stupid. I enjoyed the show more than I thought, and it's a shame it's another series that won't get a season 2 and is only meant to help sell the light novels. My number 1 show of the 2015 winter season is Maria the Virgin Witch, and despite the terrible sounding name, is a fantastic piece of animation. It's based off the manga by the same name. It's a 12-episode fantasy show, and yet again, it has been licensed by Funimation. Seems like Funimation's picking up all the really good shows. It is animated by Production IG, and the manga is being released here in North America. The series follows Maria, the most powerful witch during the time of the 100 Years' War in France. Maria despises war, so she uses her magic to disrupt many battles. Her actions, and the meddling of her succubus Artemis, and her incubus Priapus, garners the attention of the heavens. The Archangel Michael issues an edict that states, if Maria loses her virginity, she will lose her magic powers. This show has been a lot of fun to watch. Its unique but beautiful animation really brings this show to life. The characters are very well done and very expressive. Maria's facial reactions are some of the best I've seen. The story is great, with it really being more than just Maria using her magic to end the war and defy the heavens. It becomes more than that. Why is Maria a heretic despite only doing good things for others, even though she has no ties with God? It's all that. It asks all those questions, and it's also a love story. It does a great job with everything it does. Action scenes, comedy, suspense, and dramatic situations. It's just an all-around great show that looks great, has great characters, and I highly recommend it. And it's really the only choice for number 1. That's it for the 2015 winter season, as we now move on to the spring season, arguably the biggest of all the seasons, with fall being a close second. There's roughly 30 to 40 new shows coming, and I'll be back as usual to give you my first impressions. Thank you all for watching my top 5 2015 winter anime season list, and I'll catch y'all later.